Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Rendezvous with Anza Saqib on CxO Global TV. CxO Global Forum is a knowledge sharing platform for all C levels across the globe. We take massive pride in contributing to the knowledge economy. Each time we bring to you very special guests that are not only domain experts, but those that have made a considerable amount of difference in the field that they're working in. Today, we've got a young man who has achieved quite a bit at his age. And, when we talk about the world around us, everything is now all about tech and innovation and entrepreneurship put together. So let's speak more with Mr. Raza Afzal, who's the co-founder at TruckItIn. So Raza, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anza. It's a pleasure to be here and happy to speak with everybody and share our experiences.
Lovely. Raza, before we start speaking about TruckItIn, I would like to know a little bit about your personal journey. So where did you start and how did you end up where you are at right now?
So it's an interesting journey. It started in Pindi, Rawalpindi. It's a small city right next to Islamabad, right? That's where I was brought up. Education-wise, I've been to Karachi. I did my undergraduate from IBA Karachi, then went and did my master's and MBA from LAMS. And then I got working. So, and the interesting bit of my journey really began when I started working at Kareem, where we were working with these young, passionate, mission-driven people who were trying to do something. And yeah, was given the right opportunities really over there to grow, to deliver, to prove myself. And I was tested in some very challenging times. And then it really grew from there. I joined Bikea. Over there, I was working very closely with the leadership over there, so got to know the way entrepreneurship and the challenges that young founders face, especially in Pakistan. And based on that, we got the courage to really kickstart something of our own. And the three of us got together, and we my co-founders and I, we then started TruckItIn.
Right. Sounds lovely. But Raza, you mentioned, mashallah, IBA, LUMS, and then Kareem. Now, this is a stellar yet privileged set of opportunities, right? And a lot of times,
Absolutely.
young people in Pakistan, they do argue that, look, we can't be as successful as an IBA or LUMS grad because, for them, everything is served on a silver platter. How much of your success do you accredit to your alma mater? And what about those people who don't have those opportunities?
So I'll say absolutely, it's a privilege. It's a privilege predominantly because, again, it costs money, right? At the end of the day, these are premium schools of Pakistan. They're a little expensive. They're very particular with people that they let in. So it's a very small club that you become a part of, right? So absolutely, I think a lot of my professional journey, I've become a better professional because of what I learned there. But more than that, it's the network that's enabled, right? You're connecting with people of your own age who want to excel. They're very ambitious people. So really, I think that's where the advantage lies. But it's not a must-have. It's a good to have. But if you have the drive and the vigor within you to apply, to learn, to be dedicated, to be relentless. So again, like everywhere across the globe, education is just what gets you started, right? So my education maybe allowed me to start the journey one step ahead of the rest, but it does not mean that the other people can't catch up, and it does not mean that you don't need to work hard either.
Right.
So
That
it's
makes
not
a
like
lot of
just because it's not like you're from IB or LUMS, everybody is going to give the world to you on a silver platter. You have to go work for it, right? Because at the day you walk out, the connections remain, what you learned remain, but then your journey really starts from there, right? School stops somewhere.
Right. Absolutely. You've made a very valid point. But Raza, so tell us more about TruckItIn. How was the idea conceptualized? Who came up with the name? How did young boys go from working for Kareem and so on and so forth, and then finding their own startup?
Absolutely. So what is TruckItIn? It is basically a digital platform which aims to directly connect truckers and shippers. We're trying to build a B2B marketplace, which is a huge opportunity in Pakistan alone. So in the regional players, if we look at MENA, Pakistan has the largest road freight market, which contributes about 10% to the GDP annually, right? So it's a massive opportunity that's being done very traditionally. One of the co-founders and the CEO, Sarmal, his family has been involved very closely in the trucking ecosystem for the past 40 years, and we've been looking at it very closely. Um, so yeah, look, once you're trying to do a startup, there are a few things that you need to be cognizant of, right? I mean, especially if you once you're coming in from Kareem, from Baikea, so you've got a lot of ambition, right? And with that, you want to there's this drive really to make an impact. And if you want to make an impact, first of all, you need to look at the scale of the opportunity itself, right? So that's how it all started. We found all of us we are very well entrenched in building operations, an operation layer, and power it and enable it with a technology layer, right? So that's where our capabilities kind of started synergizing. And yeah, so the name was actually funny. It's one of the co-founders, Heather. It's a play, it's a word play, really. So bring it in, so you hug it in. So we really says, okay, truck it in, right? So shippers need trucks, so you're trucking it in, right? So
Right.
that's the story behind the name itself.
Absolutely. That seems very, very interesting. But when you talk about TruckItIn, I know you spoke of your co-founders as well. Uh, what exactly were their strengths and what was your strength? So, when you put together the startup.
Absolutely. So one of the co-founders, he is Heather Naveed, right? He is looking after the strategy and product side of things for us, right? And he's got again his mind is tuned like that. His experiences, even in Kareem, they were all setting him up to be the best at what he does, right? So when you're doing a tech-based startup, that is the one thing that you're looking at. Another thing that you require, especially in a case like ours, where we're getting into a very relationship and a network-driven industry, you need the inside edge, and you need somebody who really powers everybody on, right? So we've got the CEO Sarmat, who's heading the operations side of things, and he's also looking at ensuring that he's the face of the company and doing the fundraising, because that's the strength that he brings to the table, right? And myself, I'm looking after commercials. This is what I've been doing in Kareem and Baikea. So that's the strength that I'm bringing to the team. It's the energy, it's the hustle to grow and bring in more business, right? So
Sounds quite
together, if you
passionate.
look at it, you're really tick marking the three things you need to be successful, right? And it's so you've got technology, you've got operations, and then you've got the commercials as well. So
That
that's how
sounds
everything started clicking together.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. So, Raza, what exactly is it? Would you like to list down all the services that you people offer for businesses, and what's new? What's
Absolutely.
happening? Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you're a business, right, and you're a manufacturing concern, right, you have to ship your goods across Pakistan, right? So currently, TruckItIn is offering dry freight services and cold storage freight, right? And we're servicing across all the commercially available transport vehicle types available. Within that journey, we're present right now across Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, and Faisalabad, where we're servicing a lot of our clients, and we're servicing a lot of their different needs as well. So there are Pakistan is a net importer country, right? So a lot of our shipment is from the port to a warehouse. Now the warehouse could be in Karachi itself, or it could be up north in Faisalabad, Lahore, or Islamabad. So that's one step of the journey that we're helping our clients with. The next step of the journey that we help them out with is the shorter loads, which is from their warehouse to the retail, right? So that is basically the journey and the services that we're offering, and we do that in such a transparent manner. We do it very professionally. We make sure that customer experience is our top priority. We enable and we're on top of things by giving people visibility. Really, is what something that people didn't have before. So constant, and we're just a phone call away, right? Unlike other people, Our promise is we're available whenever we are needed or whether we're not needed.
Right. Raza, speaking of other people, especially when you're working on a startup, oftentimes founders tell us that, they assess the market and then they saw that nobody else is doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
But from what things sound like, I do believe that there are some other companies in Pakistan that are providing fleet management or cold storage
Yeah.
and logistics,
Yeah.
right? And you
Yeah.
said one of the ways that sets you all apart is the customer experience side of things. What else sets you apart?
So as you said, there are multiple people in this domain trying to do what we're doing, but we're doing something that nobody else is doing really. And what is that? We're targeting the medium and small enterprises. A lot of these people, when they get into the market, they want to go and talk to the Unilevers and the P&Gs and the Nestle's and the who's who of the manufacturing world, right? What we're all about is the medium and small enterprises, and those are the kind of people that we want to talk to. So that really sets us apart. The organizational capabilities that we are building, they're starkly different if you're going to be targeting um, your tier A's, and the capital requirement is a lot more efficient as well for us. So that's a good win for us.
Great. And one of the other things that a lot of startups have in common is that they have a lot of failed ideas or operations, and there's a lot of trial and error. Did you guys see any kind of failure, and what exactly did it teach you?
So I mean, once you start operating, right, so you have these ideas. I mean, despite being one member being from the industry, others being relatively new to it, we've all serviced in B2B in one way or the other, in last mile delivery as well. So you have these notions of how you're going to attack the market, right? And then you enter the market. So first of all, our assumption was that, hey, you know what, this is just a discovery problem that we have in Pakistan. So let's create a platform, and we can help make discovery easier. Once we got into it, we realized that the hypothesis just doesn't work out. The issue wasn't discovery, it was actually pricing and price discovery. So based on that, we then went back onto the drawing board, and we redid our product really. So
Right.
again, a key lesson for us, and that's been the journey, right? Every week we come up with a new hypothesis, and every week we have proven wrong. Sometimes we surprise ourselves by being right as well. But those are few and far in between, right? Because at the end of the day, it's when you're wrong is when you learn a lot about what's going on. You correct the trajectory, and the growth curves are become strong and healthy again.
Right. One of the other challenges that most startups in Pakistan face is the fact that they don't know how to raise funds, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you and your team has successfully managed to raise, I think, over 1 million in a pre-seed round recently. So would you like to tell us a little more about that?
Absolutely. So I'll start by saying, first of all, I mean, absolutely. Was it easy? No. I mean, but it was easier than we anticipated it to be, candidly speaking. And it is, again, we mentioned in the earlier part of the conversation, we had a discussion around how IBA and lumps play a part, right? But it's more than that, really. It's Kareem. That is where the fundraising really opened doors for us. So all three of us have worked together at Kareem, which became a blessing for us, which opened us a lot of doors for us, where people started helping us to close the round, really, and conversations went really quickly. But the upside to it right now is there's a lot of investor money interested in coming to Pakistan, both, and there's easier access to local money as well. Why? Because regional investors are now looking at Pakistan as the new market to be in. So there is money available. We just need to ensure that we're ready to go talk to these people and be able to convey A, what the opportunity is, B, that the team is right to attack the opportunity, right?
Right.
So a lot of the times we don't really do our own homework as well when we are engaging these talks and trying to raise capital.
Right, absolutely. You made some very pertinent points. I've spoken to a lot of VCs, and oftentimes they say that, look, one, ideas are a dime in a dozen, but it's the execution that matters. A lot of times people come up with great ideas, but they don't have a plan chalked out about how they can execute it. And then the second thing that they look at is the team that's behind it all. Because now people like doing business, and I read this in Harvard Business Review. It said people now like doing business with people that they know, like, and trust. So,
Absolutely.
that's something that is some food for thought as well for people that are watching. Raza, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I think since we've started this journey, every advice is worth its weight in gold. Honestly speaking, but I'll say this much, and I think that's take the leap. A lot of the times when you said a lot of people have these ideas, people don't take the leap really. You need to work on these things, and it all begins with having the courage and conviction that what you have thought of is worth doing really, and then go do it. We talk a lot. I mean, as a nation, we have this habit, and generally people talk a lot, right? But we need to have a lot more bias to action.
Makes sense. When you talk about the ecosystem in Pakistan for startups, or let's just say tech startups in particular, where do you think we are lacking? Are we at par with the world? And what are the areas where we can improve?
I think, honestly speaking, if we look at the landscape, I think it's very encouraging. Over the last 3 years, we've seen some fantastic startups come about, raise some fabulous sums of money. So if we look at it, a lot of the times Pakistan is setting some very interesting investment raises, which are becoming the benchmark for the region as well, right? So I'll say this much, that a lot of very interesting activity is happening, and we're definitely on the right journey. In terms of help and support, I think one thing that everybody will talk about is the fact that a lot of our regulations aren't startup friendly. So there's a lot of regulations that you need to understand, which makes our lives as founders a little more difficult than they already are, because you need to make sure that you're on the right side of the law. So that's something that we can definitely be better at. Everything else, I think, is just, we just need to be more mature, and it'll be a function of time, right? More startups are coming up. The ecosystem is thriving. We've got some fantastic investors who are helping the whole ecosystem, the founders, with what needs to be done next. So we're on a very interesting trajectory, and I think the next 2-3 years are going to be very happening.
I'm glad to hear such optimism from your side. And we wish you all the best in all the future endeavors. And speaking of the future, Raza, what's next in store for TruckItIn?
We're just starting.
Any
We're just
new
getting
product?
started.
Come again? Any new product or service?
So right now, honestly speaking, we've launched a few things, right? And now we want to make sure we scale them properly, and we make sure that there's proper traction on it before we start opening more things. So right now, the focus is very much on building an inspiring organization where people want to join. Because at the end of the day, we also need to understand, right? The organization, the industry that we're in, is not something that is considered Pakistan. In Pakistan, there's an issue, right? You want to be working on respectable projects and respectable industries, and trucking. We need to make trucking acceptable and palatable for everybody, so that we are able to attract the best talent. To date, Alhamdulillah, we've been able to be very successful. A lot of our peers, startup ready people with prior experience in Food Panda and Daraz, and a lot of experience also in Kareem. We've all joined together, but very soon, I think with a lot of other startups coming in, so a lot of more effort will be needed to over there. And yeah, the next bits are, we just need to scale and grow our business like crazy.
Right. So the pandemic in the past 2 years almost has taught everyone quite a bit. You know, some businesses suffered heavy losses while others grew exponentially. How was your line of work impacted? And do you have any contingencies ready if, God forbid, another situation arises?
God forbid. So first of all, we need to understand, right? A lot of people were impacted, and very severely impacted, because of the pandemic. But trucking is a space that is more isolated from the impact itself, because again, the day truck movement stops, the economy stops. We're an agrarian economy. A lot of our things are being imported, so and all of the movement happens on trucks, right? So you can't really stop that. So in a lot of ways, we were isolated from the impact itself. But yes, again, countries like Pakistan, there are uncertainties, right? There can be road blockages. So for our businesses, we have contingencies in place, and those contingencies are basically the leg of the journey that we're talking about, right? And these are the hedges really. So a hedge for long haul, which is factory to warehouse or port to warehouse, is warehouse to retail, right? And we're trying to build both legs simultaneously, which is acting like a risk hedge.
Raza, thank you so much for contributing to our knowledge. And I know I learned quite a few things today, and I appreciate your time. Unfortunately, we've come to an end of today's session. But towards an end, I'd like to ask you, since you read up on CxO Global Forum as well, what do you think is the utility of forums like the CxO Global?
I think, especially for emerging economies like Pakistan, these forums are a fantastic opportunity for people to connect and share problems. Because at the end of the day, a lot of us, of people at the leadership cadre, are all facing very similar challenges, but sometimes you start feeling isolated as well, right? You start feeling that you're the only person who's facing these challenges. It's when these networking opportunities come about that you realize that you're part of this larger community, which can come together and start and solve meaningful problems, right? So yeah, I think it's a fantastic initiative, and we need more of those.
Right. Thank you so much, Raza, for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you very much.
That'll be all for today. And I hope you all learned something new from today's session. And we keep trying to contribute to your knowledge. And we hope to see you next time again with another very special guest. Up until next time, keep us updated with your comments and feedback. If you'd like to know more about the kind of work that TruckItIn is doing, we've put some links in the description. So we'd urge you to visit the website and get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.